We want to discuss October 12th, 2 days ago, our narcotics unit, intelligence unit, gun task force made some outstanding arrests, and we'd like to share them with you. Captain Aspinall, who's standing to my right, will go over the particulars of the arrests. I'm basically just going to give you a little bit of a general idea of what this entailed. Total approximately 12 kilograms of fentanyl, 2,500 grams of cocaine, $238,981 U.S. currency, 2 motor vehicles seized, and 6 firearms, 1 stolen, 1 with an extended magazine. That's a good day's work. So we didn't do this alone. We had our partners as usual. In one case, we were working on a case with the Mass State Police and the Bristol County Sheriff's Office. On another case, working with the U.S. Postal Service, which see the resident agent in charge, Sean Boyce, is here with us, along with Rich Atwood, who is one of their investigators. So let me just give you a quick overview on that. A lot of drugs go through the post office. We know that, they know that, and we do our best to get whatever we can out of the packages. We like to the post office agents, I would say, do most of the work. They call us. We have a person assigned to them when they suspect that a package is carrying narcotics. That was the case the other morning, and it worked out very well. And we'll keep working with the Postal Service to try and prevent any further narcotics to go as far as going through the mail. And I think you heard a little cry back there, and that is Veda, and I think he was probably upset because I didn't acknowledge him, because he was instrumental in 2 of our arrests and ended up having to go to the vet because he, from ingesting the smell of fentanyl, made him sick, but he is fine now. So that's one thing we have to work on. We have to realize now that we're dealing with a very strong and dangerous narcotic, and even the dogs, we can't put them in danger. So we're gonna have to figure something out. A lot of narcotics, the big amounts, comes from, we suspect probably South New York, comes through here and into eastern Massachusetts. It's a big business. And like I said, we have our intelligence unit, which we developed, I want to say about 7 years ago. And we separated them from narcotics at the time. Not entirely, but as a different unit. And what they do is they work on the bigger dealers, things that, the longer investigations. They work with a lot of outside agencies, things that take a lot of time. Their incredible work is they're out all hours of the night, and you'll see when the captain tells you what happens here, what had happened, you'll see the production. This unit is top-notch unit, and they're working out well. Narcotics unit, when we split off intelligence and narcotics unit, basically, in our idea, was to control street narcotics. They'd work the street, find the dealers on the street, warrants, get warrants for houses. They have come up huge. Their work is incredible. We had, not only do we get a lot of narcotics from their work, but we also get a lot of guns. And that's a very, very important part of our effort to fight crime. And also, you'll also hear that the gun task force in a car stop seized 1 kilo of fentanyl. Our gun task force is relentless out there, and they do a heck of a job. It's tough. Think about it, walking up to cars every night that you don't know whether you're going to have a gun pulled on you or not. And, you know, and it's not just them, it's every officer in this department. And if you look and you see a lot of the, if you notice, you'll come in for press conferences, we'll talk about murders, we'll talk about, you know, maybe a robbery or something, but we hardly ever talk about narcotics because they're always investigations. And usually one investigation will go into another, so we can't really tell you exactly the work that they're doing. But this is incredible work. This is the reason, or one of the main reasons, I should say, that our crime stats are so low. There's a lot of guns taken off the street. Narcotics, you make them less available, you have less of people breaking into houses or robbing people. You know, this is, dealing narcotics is like a business, right? So you have a product, you want to sell it, you want it to be something useful in the home. That's the way you market it. The main thing here is addiction. That's what they count on. The more drugs they get out, the more people they get addicted. The more they keep servicing people, the more addiction. We fight addiction constantly. And so these people are very, very strong in advocating addiction. And that's the job we have in front of us. So I'm going to let Captain Aspel go over a few things about the exact arrests. All right, thank you.
Thank you. So on the 12th of October, we started my name is Captain Roger, R-O-G-E-R, last name is Aspinall, A-S-P-I-N-A-L-L. I'm currently in charge of the Narcotics, Organized Crime, and Intelligence Bureau. So all these events that I'm going to explain to you, all 4 of them, all happened on the 12th, starting with the first event. So over the past few months, detectives Russo and Voyer conducted a narcotics investigation regarding the Smith Hill area. Street level distribution. Subject was identified as Calvin Mitchell, age 37, who resides at 21 Candace Street in our city. This area has had some recent acts of violent crime in that area, in the Smith Hill area. We felt it was important. House is located right across from the park, located right at Candace and Chalkstone. Search warrant was executed in the morning. Seized was approximately 145 grams of cocaine, $9,171, and 3 firearms. And you'll see them up front here. 3 firearms, one of them being stolen, one of them with an extended magazine. Mitchell was brought to the station and charged with possession with the intent to distribute cocaine, possession of 1 ounce to 1 kilo of cocaine, 3 counts of possession of a firearm while committing the crime of violence, which is the distribution of cocaine, 3 counts of possession of a firearm after being convicted of a crime of violence, and a possession of a stolen firearm. It was outstanding work by the detectives Russo and Voyer, who have only been in the Narcotics Bureau for approximately 4 months. Second incident happened approximately 10 o'clock. That was work by detectives Silbert and Tesseris. They worked alongside the U.S. Post Office. We have great partnership, once again, with the Post Office. We were approached a couple months ago by resident in charge Sean Boyce, who's right next to me, about creating almost a task force to stop the amount of illegal drugs coming through the post office and onto the streets of Providence. It's produced some great work. These detectives worked with McCrone and Inspector Atwood. About 10 o'clock, Michael Nelson, age 60, responded to the post office on Corliss Street, responded in and received a package, which point in time he was detained by Providence narcotics detectives. He consented to the search of the package, into which one time you'll see some pictures up front here. When we opened up the package, there is a children's toy, and located under the toy will be also another package right under. You'll see 2 kilograms of cocaine. Once again, outstanding work by the post office and the Narcotics Bureau and the partnership that we have. We can't do it alone. The third arrest. This has been a months-long investigation by the Providence Intelligence Bureau, led by Sergeant Andre Perez. Some incredible work done in partnership with the Massachusetts State Police and Bristol County Sheriffs, excuse me. This investigation was numerous hours of surveillance on a subject named Yanislas Grulian, age 43, who resided at 35 Horace Street in Providence. Mr. Grulian was basically storing a large amount of narcotics at his residence at 35 Horace and 85 Marino. After conducting this investigation and the partnership that we had with those outside agencies, search warrants were drafted for 35 Horace, 85 Marino, and his vehicle. You'll see some of the photos above here in front. Seized out of there were 3 firearms, approximately 11 kilos of fentanyl, some of which were packaged for street-level distribution. Approximately 35,000 glassine packets were seized in that arrest. And also seized was approximately $229,810 in U.S. currency. We also seized his vehicle, which had a very elaborate hide in the car, which he utilizes to transport narcotics from New York to Providence, at which point in time they were distributed around the southeastern area here, not only in Providence, but all in the area down in this. That's why we were working in conjunction with Mass State Police and the Bristol County Sheriffs. Outstanding work by Sergeant Perez and his officers. They are some of the finest that we have, and clearly shows in the work that they did. He was charged with possession with the intent to deliver fentanyl, possession with the intent to deliver cocaine, possession of 1 ounce to 1 kilo of cocaine, possession of 1 ounce to 1 kilo of fentanyl, unlawful distribution, manufacture of fentanyl, cocaine within 300 yards of school grounds, possession of more than 1 ounce of fentanyl, and possession of a firearm with the intent to deliver cocaine, and possession of a firearm while committing the crime of violence. Lastly, the fourth incident was conducted around 5:30 that evening by our Violent Crime Task Force. Officers Malloy and Officers Campbell, 2 of our outstanding police officers, have led to numerous firearms arrests in the past and who have been recently transferred up to Violent Crime Task Force, that we can't say enough about the work that those 2 do. They were working in the south side area of the city, and at which point in time they conducted a motor vehicle stop at the corner of Hamilton and Sackett. They were able to identify the subject, the dealer, as Roberto de los Santos of Worcester, Massachusetts. During the course of their investigation, they were able to seize 1 kilogram of fentanyl. You'll see that in front of us also. That kilo was actually dyed purple, which we are starting to see as the trend out on the streets of Providence, a purple dyed fentanyl. It's an outstanding arrest by those guys trying to stop violent crime on the city and our streets of Providence. I speak for myself, the members, and I assume I speak for Captain O'Hara, who oversees the Violent Crime Task Force, that we can't say enough about the work that they do day in and day out to take firearms and drugs off the street. I also speak on behalf of the sergeants in my unit, Sergeant Perez, Sergeant Kennedy, and Sergeant Poplowski, for the great work that they do. And I'll just go over once again the total numbers. Approximately 12 kilos of fentanyl, 2.5 kilos of cocaine, a total of $238,981 of US currency, 2 vehicles, and 6 firearms, seized all in one day by the Providence Police Department. It's outstanding work by Providence police officers.
Which incident resulted in the illness to Veda of the dog?
So Vader he was doing searches on the Horace Street, 35 Horace Street, which point in time he hit on a garbage can, which were kilo wrappers, which still possibly had some fentanyl residue. The handler was able to understand that the dog was not acting correctly and quickly administered Narcan to the dog. And then we took Vader to the veterinarian where his vitals were checked out, and I'm glad to say that he is okay, and he was actually working out on search warrants this morning.
Please spell his name.
Vader, V-A-D-E-R. David, say your last name for me. I can't say it. I've tried 1,000 times and I just can't say it. I am.
Sure. I-M-P-A-G-L-I-A-Z-Z-O.
You mentioned purple fentanyl. Can you explain how is that different from other things?
What we're starting, the trend starting to be is that they're putting dye into fentanyl, giving it a certain color. Certain color will be like, kind of like marking your territory. So like some people will see that maybe it's more potent than everything else, but then people start to request, I want the purple fentanyl. Years ago, they used to put stamps on glassine packets, whether it be the Batman stamp, and that used to be what the people would ask for. So purple fentanyl clearly has gotten to this, and at which point in time, if you wanted to, and if you had a pill press, you'd be able to make fentanyl pills, and it would already have the color already in the pill, or in the fentanyl itself, and be ready for distribution.
And in terms of stuff moving through the post office, can you compare it to previous years? Is that becoming more prevalent? Is it an issue this year?
Well, we saw the issue, but I'm going to actually let Sean, the resident in charge, Sean Boyce, answer that question. I think he'd be probably the best person to get that answer from.
So Sean Boyce, B-O-Y-C-E. I am the supervisory federal agent of the United States Postal Inspection Service here in Providence. In regards to your question, the inspection service, one of its primary missions is to reduce the flow of narcotics through the United States mail. And we don't keep trends locally as to the flow of narcotics coming in. You can garnish that information off of our website. It will show you the various years and how many seizures and arrests the inspection service has made. But we do our best in a collaborative manner to reduce any type of narcotic flowing through the United States Postal Service. So numbers, you'll find them on that website. I'm not going to quote them because I don't know them off the top of my head. Sean, S-E-A-N. Yeah.
So taken together, these are unrelated incidents. They all just happen to come together on the same day. Is that
Correct. It was one day that we started at 7 o'clock in the morning with the first search warrant, and it just happened to be that the trends were like, okay, we start in the morning, we're doing the search warrant. Post office calls, said, hey, we have that package here, can you guys help us, assist us? We go and we work with them. Sergeant Perez's group says, oh, we're going to execute that. They were ready. They felt the intelligence was there. They knew everything that was going to run. And then the gun task. There are 4 separate incidents, but in the totality of the arrest by the investigative division under Major LePayton, clearly you'll show the outstanding work by the investigators here in the city of Providence.
Major says a good day's work? Good day's work.
Fantastic day's work, yes. But you know what? That was 2 days ago. Today, they're already out on another search warrant. We don't stop, so it just keeps going. And another thing I failed to mention is that when we do get, or we arrest people who we see are addicted or high on drugs, the first thing we look to is to get them help. And that's one of our major concerns, to get people off of drugs. Or to help them cope with their lives, as this addiction continues. So, like I said, when you take this much fentanyl, cocaine off the street, it helps everyone. And a few partners we didn't mention that we work with too, of course, is Homeland, FBI, DEA, ATF, and the Rhode Island Attorney General's office, who I think you'll see a press conference coming up within probably next week, that will show a partnership between our intelligence unit in cooperation or working with the task force within the Attorney General's office. So there's more good news there.
What are you up to in terms of guns?
I think Captain O'Hara's our gun total, about 220, you think?
More like 250.
250.
What happened with the 6 money?
The what?
What happened with the money?
That money?
Yeah.
What happens with it?
Yeah,
Oh, it gets
where do we go?
turned over to the Attorney General's office.
Why don't you use it for training the police? Bring it back into
What happens is when it goes through court, and then it's decided where the money goes. And it's either, it could go to training, it could go to whatever.
Major, I don't know if you would know this, but have you found that any of this purple fentanyl has been linked to any overdose deaths? Any communication with them?
I'm not completely sure on that. I just know that the overdose deaths have, gone up over the past few years. And so we're working on that. And it seems to have subsided a little bit, but that's something we have to keep working on.
You mentioned the trends with the purple dyed fentanyl. Are there other trends that you're seeing? Are you seeing an increase in fentanyl and cocaine out on the street?
What do you see, Raj?
We're seeing more fentanyl on the street and a decline in the amount of cocaine that's coming into the street. And we can tell that by the prices that are out there, and the price of cocaine declining in years, and the demand for fentanyl and the actual more usage of fentanyl than heroin is what we're seeing.
Yeah, so it's good work. We've got a long way to go, but it's a nice dent that we've taken out of this week, and we will continue to do so. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.